The Dark Aether storyline has been going on for about 6 years. It started with Cold War officially, and while the ending of Cold War wasn't exactly my favorite, I would say it's still serviceable. You know, for what it was, for what we had at the time, it could have been a lot worse. The reveal of Eddie at the end was pretty nice, and it set up some pretty interesting things for the next Zombies game to come. That was when we found out the next Zombies game would be Vanguard Zombies, and if you've been in the community for the past few years, do I even need to say anything? Hell, you don't even need to be in the community. When Vanguard came out, not only did that game get relentlessly shit on, everybody agreed it was the worst Zombies mode we had seen ever, period. That it was not even a debate. Despite that though, I do want to bring attention to the fact that some of the elements Vanguard did set up were pretty good. The aesthetic of it, outside of obviously the reused MP maps and a lot of the shitty things it did, the aesthetic was pretty good. I really liked the kind of lore, the way it built up the mythology of the Dark Aether with a lot of popular myths and demons and creatures being just creatures from the Dark Aether that people in our world mistakenly thought were gods or Ghost or Unreal or whatever the hell. That was all really cool. The gameplay was fine. Like, to be completely fair, most of the hate this game got, which was deserved, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to be an apologist for Vanguard all of a sudden. This game 100% deserved every second of hate it got, was because of the original mode at the start and it being more objective based than round based, and this weird obsession that Treyarch had at the time of just making everything objective based or open world or whatever, and just trying to fix something that wasn't broken for some reason. But nevertheless, after the life cycle for Vanguard was over, we very soon found out that we were actually gonna get Modern Warfare Zombies, which, dear God, what a fucking decision that was. I still cannot believe somebody at Activision signed off on this. Legitimately. I am an avid Modern Warfare Zombies hater, and no, I'm not somebody who barely played it, okay? I did every story mission, I did most of the side objectives, I fully engaged with almost all of the content in the game, and I can wholeheartedly tell you that shit was ass. Not only just in terms of concept, and the gameplay was okay, but Zombies just doesn't work this way. It just doesn't work like it. Could it work in an extraction shooter fashion? Sure, but not in the way it was done in Modern Warfare Zombies. This game, however, did something worse than that. It legitimately, and in my opinion, it is entirely this game's fault that the rest of the Dark Aether story, as we saw it, which was Black Ops 6 and Black Ops 7, was shackled. The writers were absolutely shackled and held down by this game. In case you don't know, in the intro for Modern Warfare Zombies, literally one of the first things we see is the whole Requiem crew, okay, so the crew we were gonna see in Black Ops 6 and presumably Black Ops 7, dead in a table. And this game takes place about 40 or 50 years after Cold War, so already we just knew it legitimately did not matter what would happen, these characters were gonna die. So all the tension is gone. All the possible care and love we could have had for these characters developing in Black Ops 6 and 7 just gone out the window, just thrown into the fucking toilet and flushed down, because they're gonna die no matter what. And that by consequence made it so that when Black Ops 6 came out and they started teasing their story in that game, it just lost so much weight. Because yeah, we saw these characters in prison and the cutscene was pretty cool for what it was, but ultimately we had this threat, this basically like big fucking elephant just looming in the room of, oh yeah, these characters are gonna die. It doesn't matter. None of what they do matters. They're just gonna fucking die no matter what. But you know what? I want to give credit where it's due. Because despite everything they had working against them, even though what they had working against them was themselves, they actually managed to pull me in for a little bit there. Terminus was pretty interesting. Citadel de Mor was pretty interesting. The Tomb was where you started to see the flaws. Shattered Veil, despite having a few issues and honestly just suffering from the same MacGuffin issue that Black Ops 6 and, to be honest, Modern Warfare, not Modern Warfare, Modern Zombies has as a whole, it still managed to captivate me a little bit. You know, Nolan North as Richtofen, or in this case Eddie, is always just such a treat to watch, and he honestly carried that map, especially at the end of the Easter egg. So I do want to give credit for that, but it doesn't matter how nice I try to be towards the devs, because then in Reckoning, they just went and fucked it all up. That map was such a mess from so many sides. Panels was being hyped up. It was like Panels was the only reason for Liberty Falls to exist from a story standpoint, and that was basically worth nothing, because as far as I know, the canon ending is that he just gets fucked and dies and doesn't amount to anything. He did tease the first map of Black Ops 7, and he did tease the Warden in a way, which you know, I guess it is story importance, but it was legitimately just like a waste of a voice actor, a waste of a character, just to tease something else that wasn't even good in the first place. Because you know what? Fuck it. I'ma spoil it. The ending for Black Ops 7 is worthless. It is Rex Infernus. I don't hate it as a map. I'm not gonna do a full review like I did before for the past few maps because I really just don't feel like it. I like the map, kind of 50-50. It's good, it's bad, but Jesus Christ, that ending is horrible. That ending is horrible. They just shat on us. They literally just shat on us. To summarize as best as I can, in case you didn't actually watch the ending, basically nothing happened. After this whole game, after Black Ops 6 and Black Ops 7 as a whole, we are still at this same exact starting point because it turns out, I guess they wanted to take inspiration from Revelations and make the whole Dark Aether story, at least as we know it so far, to just be a loop. It's all a loop. The Requiem crew have to help Ava in the Dark Aether and defeat the Warden so she can live on and basically get captured by the Warden again and then just be a self-fulfilling feedback. Literally just a loop that leads to nothing. Because I don't know if you noticed it, after they kill the Warden in the cutscene, they don't give a fuck. They just step on his glasses and they're like, yeah, he's dead, but his ideals still live on, and that's it. Warden didn't matter for shit. The villain that was so cool in that intro cutscene and had us all theorizing if he was a part of a bigger group. What are the Shadow Smiths? What is this guy? Is he Jebediah? Just, it's crazy how the community constantly makes better stories than Treyarch. Because every single time something like this happens, it was the same thing with Takio, with the spirit that he had on his sword. We all theorized that it was supposed to be a Dark Aether demon, and it would have been such a cool callback to Vanguard. And it's so crazy how they have all these opportunities to write such a cool and interesting story and tie back to actually meaningful things, and not just use mindless MacGuffins and even take away the power of such an important artifact such as the Sentinel artifact and just shove it up their ass and use it for whatever bogus reason they want. They actually have opportunities to make interesting plot points and interesting moments, but they just don't. Oh yeah, the Warden, yeah, he's just a racist guy. He's just a Confederate racist soldier, and he just somehow, that in a very stupid way, stumbled upon the Dark Aether and magically became the strongest creature there. How did he do it? Oh, well, yeah, he kind of just backstabbed these old beings that have been here since the dawn of time that were somehow stupid enough to fall for this dumbass. It's just such a poorly executed backstory for a character who had so much aura. I love the Warden's design. The voice performance, gee, I feel so bad for the voice actor because he actually was putting his heart and soul into a lot of the lines. He was actually such a cool villain from that perspective, but it was just done so poorly. It was not given the good writing it deserved. And I think that's the biggest tragedy of it all, of the whole Dark Aether story. The biggest tragedy is that it could have been great. It really could have. This game is the biggest example of that because, and maybe this is a hot take, but I genuinely think the Tempest, or I don't know what the official name for them is, but the OG4, but the BO7 version of the OG4 is genuinely better than Ultimus. I actually prefer them over Ultimus. I still like Ultimus, but the writing for these versions of the characters, I mean, I don't even need to say anything. Just look at the side Easter egg for Richtofen and Totenreich, and that is enough. But even if you don't take that into account, Dempsey is a bit more interesting. Even if basic, the same with Nikolai. But even then, the Ultimus crew were essentially, for the most part, just caricatures. And these versions of the characters feel like taking that caricature and taking those versions of the character and building upon that and giving them, actual backstories that are emotional and do have a tie to the type of person they are. Nikolai is way more interesting than he was in his Ultimus version. Same goes for especially Takio. Same goes for Dempsey. The only one of the Ultimus who is realistically a good written and properly written character is Richtofen, and even then you're kind of stretching the definition of properly written. So it's so sad to see that this game genuinely had the potential for that. A lot of the quotes in this game are so good. The relationships between the characters, God, I love the interactions between the Requiem crew and the OG4 in this game. They were so good. The little relationships you could see forming of this brotherly bond between Maya and Takio, the kind of flirtatious, kind of sexual tension between Dempsey and Maya, Richtofen constantly trying to seem like a good guy and trying to appeal to Gray, but her having none of his shit. It's so good. They all have a back and forth, they all have good banter, and the side Easter eggs were great, like I mentioned before. There was actual potential for this game to have a genuinely interesting and good story, but it just felt like the past few years of abuse that Treyarch has had to endure from Activision, from just being made and obligated to work on every single fucking zombies game, has just worn them down to the point that they don't even want to write a good story. Because, at first I kind of tried to explain to myself in my mind that, oh, maybe, they've been writing this shit as it goes along, which, could still be the case. This could absolutely be the case because, Jesus, if you just see the tone shifts from Cold War to Vanguard, from Vanguard to MWZ, it's so crazy. It almost feels like it's a different team working on each story, especially when you take into account some of the inconsistencies. Like, in Cold War, they made it pretty clear that Samantha was not dead. They made it extremely clear that she just went back to the Dark Aether. And then in BO6, maybe this was influenced by the voice actor strikes, I don't know. But again, it just feels like they're just trying to scrape together whatever the hell they can from the dog shit pile that they have in front of them, and they just end up making the worst story decisions ever. The BO6 ending was nothing. It was just a tease for BO7, and then BO7 was nothing. It was essentially just a Saturday morning cartoon. It didn't change the paradigm of the world. It didn't introduce anything new to us. It was just MacGuffin after MacGuffin, and admittedly cool set pieces, just for it all to end in literally nothing. Half of the crew died, like we knew they would. The cycle, I guess you could call it, continues. And then the OG4, we don't even know what's going to happen to them. Assuming, from what we've seen, they're just going to keep them going. They're basically going to do the Deadpool and Wolverine equivalent with the OG4, where they're just going to keep pumping out shit with them and just keep making more games with them and more storylines with them. But I don't even know where they can go from here. Like, seriously, what are they going to do? Like, I assumed that at the end of the cutscene, they probably got teleported off into, like, their own dimensions, but maybe they got teleported off somewhere else. You know, Ava did say, oh, you four have your own destiny or whatever. So maybe there's some bullshit other cycle that they need to participate in for no discernible reason. Richtofen is uncharacteristically, you know, kind of lenient with the whole thing, despite him being kind of teased for betraying the crew and having his own master plans. He kind of just gets brushed off to the side. Again, it's so comical, it's so cartoony, it's like they don't even take themselves seriously. This ending was just such a letdown after what is admittedly one of the best years of zombies we'd have in a while. In my opinion, dude, I kind of like this shit more than BO4 in some respects. I think this is legitimately, like, unquestionably the best zombies game we've had since BO4. And if you argue against that, you probably have not played these games to their fullest extent. Because, God, like, I know this video was just like an angry rant, but I just don't even know what to say anymore. Like, I'm gonna be honest, my expectations were not high. And somehow, they still surprised me in how just boring and how much of a nothing burger this ending could have been. Especially at the end there, just the twins and Ava waving goodbye to the players, presumably, was just, it honestly just felt like a cry for help from the Treyarch dev team. Because they don't know what to do anymore. Because at least when it comes to the gameplay side of it, they are fine. Like, the formulas are good. The Easter eggs are so good, especially with these last hunts. That's another thing. That's a whole fucking can of worms. The leaking situation and just how shitty these leakers are. That's a whole can of worms I'm not even gonna touch on. But specifically, like, strictly talking about development quality, dude, the maps have been looking great. Honestly, a lot of the Wonder Weapon designs have been great. The Easter eggs have been great. The maps have been fun. The music, God, they never miss. But especially in this game, it's been amazing. It's been so fucking good. And it's like all these parts of Treyarch are working like overtime to make some of the best zombies content we've had in years. And then the writing team is just shitting itself and just huffing glue in a corner because what are you doing? Legitimately, what are you doing? I'm gonna stop here because I could just keep ranting and complaining about every single little thing that happened with this map for 30 minutes, but it's not worth it. If you watch this video for some reason, I appreciate it a ton. I appreciate all of you that take the time out of your busy days to watch my videos. I love every single one of you, and I know it's kind of a hassle to watch these shitty videos of mine, but again, I really want to get it through that I appreciate all of you, and I hope you all have great days, mornings, nights, whatever it is. If you disagree with me or agree with me, leave it in the comments. You know I will always respond. And yeah, let's see what happens with zombies. Bye.